Hello!
Hey.
Welcome to church today. So great to be with you and here hanging out with the awesome Angelica who's on our team. My name is Sats, my wife Em and I. We're the lead pastors here at C3 Reflect. Just a massive welcome. If you are tuning in today, YouTube, catching up later, it's all good. We're just pleased that you're here. And if you are brand new today, don't forget to go to our website, c3reflect.church/connect. And you could just put your details in there. We would love to just hang and get to know you and help welcome you into the life of the church. But Angelica, this is an exciting day, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because we are launching, what are we launching? Like a brand new series called Courage to Live. And I feel like if there's a season that we need courage, I think it's now.
For sure.
And so over the next few weeks, we're going to be looking at just a whole heap of stuff, a whole heap of topics to really try and, I guess, just speak into the season. Like it's been a weird season, and then we're kind of sick of talking about it as well.
Yeah.
You feeling that? It's always like...
There's a lot of fatigue in all different shapes and forms.
That is the word. That is the word.
Yeah.
We should have done one on COVID fatigue. But anyway, but I think it is good to speak into the season and to bring just the voice of the church.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the voice of the church, when we look around, it can feel a bit odd or a bit confusing or a bit divisive or a bit intense. And I think what I'm really looking for and really hoping that we can get out of this is just that balance and that wisdom and that freshness and hope, right?
Yeah.
Like hope for the future. So it's going to be good. So today's topic, Angelica, is reopening anxiety. That's what we termed it.
The newest buzzword happening around.
It is the latest buzzword since hybrid working.
Yep.
So it's the acronym WFH. So I'll just open with a thought, right? And then I just want to get your thoughts and your vibes. It's almost like it's this new term that is kind of, I guess, describing the season we're in, because in the last season, there was no reopening. So there was no
no
potential anxiety about reopening. But I can kind of see this, right? So lockdown, March 2020, it comes in and we're not in control, right?
Yeah.
We just have to stay at home, whether we want to, whether we agree with the decision.
Yeah.
There's all a variety of opinions, it feels like, right? And then we're in lockdown, we're trying to exercise, we're trying to learn how to knit and stuff, and we're just coping.
Yeah.
But then we enter into now, which is like just a new season where things are reopening. And instead of being out of control by being locked down, we're now in a place where we've been given back control. And I feel, even just personally, that is a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
What's your kind of feel? What's that been like for you? And what are you just kind of seeing around you in society, workplace, friends? What's the kind of vibe? Yeah, tell us.
I think for me personally, it's probably been something that I've been really looking forward to, like reopening. I am one of those people I'm just 120% over COVID. I'm ready, I'm done. I was done 6 months ago. But I think, after having such a long period where everything's been brought to a standstill, you can almost take comfort in the fact that if your life isn't happening right now, neither is anyone else's.
Right.
So you're all kind of like, for once, in this great equalizer stuck together. Yeah. And now that it's kind of reopening, people are, getting married again, people are moving again, people are changing jobs again. Yeah. It's kind of like, oh, now I'm in control of my own life.
Yes.
Can I not be, so I don't have to have the responsibility?
Right, because control is responsibility, which we all would say we want control. Yeah. Right, we all want freedom, but there's actually a pressure, isn't there? Do you think that it's snuck up on people? Because you would have thought this is like, Freedom Day, all these kind of things, and we're like excited. Do you think it's caught people unawares a bit, just the feeling of
I think so, yeah, because it's really funny. Like the human nature is just one that is very forgettable. We just forget so quickly. Like if I think back to, I don't know, like last summer, people were desperate for things to reopen. The minute, we had Eat Out to help out, all this stuff. And then when lockdown was announced kind of around November, people were really unhappy with that.
Yes.
But since then, we've gotten so used to it.
Yes, that's really interesting.
That we've kind of forgotten how sad we were to lose our freedom before.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably why it seems so difficult at the moment, because we think in our minds it's been going on for much longer than it actually is.
Yeah. That is really interesting, because I do remember that, and I remember specifically in London when Christmas changed, And, you know, for us, that was a big deal because we had plans and we had to cancel them. And, you know, like so many other people did, and it's been a difficult season. But yeah, remembering that emotion just in the, like almost the psychology of where people were at, that has changed, hasn't it, since then? There's definitely a bit more of a split, I would say, between people who feel like, oh, actually, no, we need to be, we're stuck. And I think what's really difficult, right, is for me, like as a pastor, I feel like I want to help people move forward.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to, you know, kind of encourage almost like a recklessness or just like a kind of like, oh, this doesn't apply to me, or I just can get on, even though I totally get that feeling because I feel like that as well sometimes. I'm just like, oh, this is so annoying. Yeah. So I want to like really help. And I think like as a church, we want to really occupy almost that middle ground that is between maybe the two extremes, which is like of like, this is rubbish, we should just be back to normal life. You know, COVID doesn't exist. Like that kind of extreme that, you know, COVID does exist, like people have died. Yeah, for sure. And this is legit. But I think there's another extreme where it's like, you know, we are almost afraid to live. And I think that's what I want to speak into today, because I see people and I think, this is everything that you need in your life, like for the life to get back to normal. But there's a space in your mind maybe, or just personally that's different.
And I think it's really interesting how different people have processed everything. Like for me, I, up until recently, didn't know anyone that was kind of still feeling very anxious or worried about COVID until I started speaking to a bit, you know, actually asking that question. And I was really surprised. It's like, oh, I was like, what do you mean you're afraid? I'm like, I'm so ready. Like, how are you afraid? There's nothing to be afraid of. And I think everyone processes it differently. Yes. And it's probably kind of a symptom of where we are, you know, with society, in that, you know, Instagram, social media, it feeds you so much of what you already think and already believe. It can almost kind of reinforce your belief that, actually everyone feels and thinks the way that you do. And I think that hasn't necessarily helped either people who are kind of leaning towards the side of recklessness and people who are leaning towards the side of kind of smothering society in this big blanket.
It's really interesting actually, because there's an account I follow that I think is trying to basically show that bias in social media. And they did a screenshot of, I can't remember who it was, but one of the kind of, maybe it was an American political figure, sort of one of the more divisive sort of things. But what was more interesting is that I think those comments, when you look from two different accounts, were either basically agreeing or disagreeing, depending on you. And so there is this real thing where social media is conditioning us to think more the same way. And that's not necessarily always bad. Like, we want to see photos of people we like interacting with. That's good. And less of the other. But there is something where I think, it's conditioning the way we think. So that on one side, you've got the recklessness. I think recklessness is a bit unfair.
More conspiracy, maybe.
Or just really anxious to get back to life. Like, hey, we've missed out.
Right.
And I think the really interesting thing with this is that, you know, we're quite young, right? I think if you are an older person, like, okay, you're more at risk, but you're also like, your years are more precious. So in one sense, like, the years that have been lost for an older person, for us it's like, okay, whatever. Well, not whatever, but you know what I mean? But for an older person, there's something there.
I'm really, you know, curious with all of the kind of talking about protecting the vulnerable. I haven't really heard much from the vulnerable themselves as to like, how do they feel? I know people who haven't been able to see their grandparents in, you know, a year ever since. And I'm like, well, that's not, you know, just because you know that it's the right thing to do in terms of protecting people, it doesn't mean it makes that kind of emotional separation any easier. And I really do wonder, you know, the people that we're all doing this for, what are their actual opinions of it? Would they rather just, you know, take the risk and actually be able to see loved ones and have human connection? Or is physical health so important? Is that the only thing that we care about? Because with all of the focus on mental health lately, I feel like if we really did believe it is equally as important as physical health, I think some parts of how we navigated through this pandemic would have been slightly different, because the focus has definitely been on physical.
Naturally, it makes sense, doesn't it? But you are right. It's almost like the mental and the physical are equally important, but just occupy different layers in our life, maybe, you know, because but I can totally see what you're saying there, because it's like, we have preserved physicality probably at the expense of emotional, mental, and that's the most incredibly difficult decision to make. So we've all got our hindsight, haven't we? And it's very easy when you're not in the seat, right, of decision making. Yeah. And so I actually love the Bible says, you know, pray for the government, pray for your leaders. And that's actually something I've kind of done that on and off in my life. Like, yes, Lord, bless them. But actually even in just the last month or so, I've really tried to make a bit more of a discipline actually praying for Boris, praying for Rishi, praying for these guys. I don't know them personally, I just
first name basis.
But because you know, no matter what we think or how we feel about the decision making of the last 18 months, of everybody watching, and there will be a variety of feelings.
Of course.
And so I think, you know, for us as a church, we don't really want to say this is right, this is wrong, it should have been done like this. Because to be honest, I'm not sure. And I got a feeling that any of us put in that position would be an impossible choice. But I can see as a pastor that I can see that we've prioritized the physical over people's mental and emotional. And I really want to I want to make sure that as the physical returns to normal, that the damage that has been done here, if you like, that we don't just ignore that.
Of course.
But we actually talk about it. And I guess that's kind of what this is. It's trying to. So Angelica, let me just throw a thought your way, right? Mm-hmm. So fear, like the Bible says in Timothy, one of the Timothys, it's like my favorite scripture that I repeat. I think it's 2 Timothy 1, you know, God's not giving you a spirit of fear, but he's giving you a spirit of, you know, boldness, power, self-control, right? And so fear is a spirit, and there is an atmosphere to it. And so we've been in an environment, an atmosphere that, whether necessary or not, because that's the thing, isn't it? Like we've been focusing on, and we've been thinking about death, caution, you know, like just danger. We've been thinking about all those things for 18 months in the news, constant, every conversation. And so that doesn't just go away. Like that's actually something that we have to figure out how to, you know, separate that, to bring our rationale into the equation, because it's affecting us on a like deep subconscious level, right? And so as we reopen, I guess the reason we're talking about reopening anxiety is because there's stuff there that, what do you think that looks like for you? How have you handled that? Do you think there's some stuff there that you're not aware of? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what does it look like?
I think, you know, fear is a very interesting emotion because we like to think we're very logical creatures.
Yeah.
I think
we love to think that. Yeah.
Humans in general like to think we're logical and above emotion.
Above emotion, that's it.
Instincts. And it's very difficult to admit to yourself, admit to other people, but especially admit to people who aren't afraid that you're afraid.
Wow. Okay.
That's really difficult.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do that. So I think we've almost tried to mask that fear by talking about, you know, the moral obligation we have in society, what we owe each other, talking about the science, the data, as if those things are all completely devoid of emotion. But scientists are people as well.
They're people,
So, you know,
absolutely.
It's never going to be like that. But I think, you know, in terms of my own personal experience, it is really funny because I've noticed whenever somebody comes near me, even now, I kind of instinctively just like step away.
These chairs are actually quite close, aren't they?
Definitely no distancing whatsoever. But, you know, we've spent the last, 18 months being conditioned to be afraid of other people.
Yes, we have,
We've been told that person, your neighbor, you know, your relatives, your friends, you should be removing yourself from them because there is a risk attached for every single person you meet. And yes, that is true. That's how viruses spread. But I think it's probably become a little deeply rooted too much into our psyche.
Yes.
To the point where it is subconscious now. And there is that real kind of you know, atmosphere of I should be afraid of other people.
Yes.
Which is just so fundamentally opposed to how we should be living as people in order to thrive in life.
Yes.
You know, life without connection is meaningless. It's not worth living.
Yeah,
right?
as many of us have discovered, people particularly who've been stuck. Well, I mean, you've had housemates, I guess, but you've been fairly isolated during that season. And for a lot of people, And
I think, you know, in the church, we probably know that more so than other people. We know that community is, you know, so central to life. But I think, you know, in this pandemic, lots of people have discovered the importance of that as well once it's been taken away.
Yes. Wow, that's wild. And also, really interestingly, like a lot of us were afraid of people before the pandemic, right? So like for me growing up, like social interaction was a big deal. It took me quite a long time of really trying to. Maybe that's something we can talk about how we actually overcome fear because for me growing up, it was a lot of it to do with the environment I grew up in, and I was very shy. The idea of going to meeting new people, so like. Things like leaving school were absolutely huge, like going to a new place, meeting like the first days in university. And I remember at university, Sheffield, going to the halls, and I'd heard, I don't know where from, someone will come and knock on your door and then you'll go out and like meet people, right? So I was like, cool, there'll be someone, because I am here with my like feeling quite fragile, thinking there's gonna be someone more confident than me.
Yeah.
Right? Of course. No knock on the door came, right? There were 4 flats in a row. And I knocked on, so I thought, and I probably sat there for like a couple of hours. I'd got rid of my mum. I was like, well, go away. I don't even meet any potential friends. And then I was just sat there. And then, like probably a couple of hours. And I was just like, I have to go out. And I made the decision, I'm going to knock on the door. So I knocked on one of the doors, no one was there. I knocked on the other door, there was someone there, he was a very antisocial person, he didn't want to really talk. And I was like, okay, then I knocked on the last door, because it was me and 3 other people, and there was another guy there, we went out and met some people. But for me, that was a something that was a domino effect for me, where I realized, I can break fear, and actually everybody else is just as afraid as I feel.
Right.
But my choice to push the boundary, that's the first step. What do you think those boundaries might be for people today? Because we do want to be like, hey, let's not just pretend the virus doesn't exist anymore. But I've got to say that if we put the emphasis on the physical during lockdown, I feel like we need to put the emphasis back on the mental, emotional, and the spiritual element of fear, and actually break the chains of fear. Because if you don't break it, if you don't break out of it, it doesn't go away. Yeah. It actually gets worse. So if I'd stayed in my room for another hour, it would have got harder and harder and harder. You know what I mean? Yeah. What can you talk to us about that, Angelica?
I think the first thing I'll say is, in terms of reopening anxiety, it is good that the data does show that we are in a safer place. Yeah. So there is some fact to that you can take comfort that if you go out, it is safer than if you were to go out 6 months ago. That's the first thing.
Yeah, that's
the
a
second
fact.
thing,
that's
a fact,
that is
right?
fact, yeah.
So that's great. I think the next thing is, you've got to start somewhere with little steps. Like, obviously if you've just not been seeing anyone, don't go to a house party first thing. That's a terrible idea. But, or I think a lot of people are very nervous about public transport, which I understand, because it is getting busy.
Yeah.
Like, I think even just taking, the bus to just a little way away, or walking, just doing those little things. But then I guess more than that is, you want to surround yourself with people who aren't feeling afraid.
Yes.
Because I don't think fear is necessarily something that you overcome by meeting other people who are also afraid. Because, I don't know, in my view, you're probably just going to feed into each other's fears and validate them.
Yes.
And not to say that it's not valid, but a lot of it, I think it's not helped by kind of constantly talking about it. You want to, go somewhere with somebody that's just ready, that can show you, this is why you should overcome your fear, because at the end of that is human connection. It's fun, it's socializing, it's community, it's friendship. Yeah, I'm with you. So I think that's awesome. That's my key thing. I think, surround yourself with, or not even surround yourself, just get somebody.
Surround.
Maybe not surround. Pair up with somebody that is just able to be encouraging and say, let's go to the pub, let's go for a coffee, let's go, to a little town, the next borough.
And I think, like, for everyone watching who isn't necessarily feeling that fearful, that's the role of that person, isn't it? Is to be that friend.
To lift people.
And to not just leave people alone and think, they'll be ready when they're ready. As well, but encouragement, I think, goes such a long way. And you can just see that. I mean, one of the things I've decided to do is hug everyone. I've just decided, even because there was that weird, like, elbows and just like weird. That. Oh, it was horrible. Yeah. And because again, social interaction is awkward anyway. So it's like that in between. And I just thought, you know what? That for me, the emotional benefits and the mental benefits of resetting a relationship and making people feel like okay and comfortable and being the person who makes the move, isn't it, in a sense, because you're both wondering, how do we interact here? And this happens in normal life, right? I don't always hug everybody in normal life, but I'm making the decision right now. I'm trying to be deliberate to reset something in myself and reset something in other people, and maybe all spread, but not in the wrong way.
I definitely have loved the return of the hug.
The return of the hug. That's what we should call this episode. The return of the hug. Oh, that was awesome. Gosh, it's going to be a good season. A good season for people. And let me just speak that over you right now. Let me just prophesy over you. This is going to be a good season. And we have to come back to the fact that God is in control.
Yeah.
And let's just close on control for a moment, and then we'll pray for people. I don't know how long we've gone, but it's been good. But you know, I think for me, one of the things I have known for a long time is that I am not in control. And I think one of the great illusions in society is that we're in control. For a young person, they go to university, maybe they get a graduate job, they move to the city, they go on holiday, they've got their paycheck, they start saving for the house, whatever. You know, that's a great sense of control. Here's my plan. Here's my life plan. This is the direction I'm going. And COVID has shown us what has always been true, is that you're never in control. and it can sound a bit negative though, can't it? Because it's like anything bad can happen at any moment, right? It's not normally the kind of tone we lead with, you know, but it is also true that we are out of control in a million factors in our lives. And I think the more we talk about, the more you pay attention, the more you realize, you know, when you're in the Uber, and I hate going in Ubers where the guy's like just really boy racer vibes. And I'm just thinking, you know, every time I get in a plane, I just think, because I'm not great with heights, just go, this could be the end. Like, the thought literally goes through my head, right? And then it's just a great reminder for me, I'm not in control, God is in control. And if he's got me to here, I mean, why not? Why not believe for tomorrow? But Jesus is like, you know, don't worry about tomorrow. Worry about today. And that's, I wonder what that feeling of, you know, being out of control or trying to, you know, control the future does to us. Have you got any thoughts there about control? Like how have you wrestled with that in your life? Is there anything you're going to take from this season into the next season in how you think about plans and vision and future and those sorts of things?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, control is such a big topic. I think for me personally, I will admit I'm a control freak. I'm 100. I love the list. I love the 5-year plan. I love the Excel tracker. I have all those things. But I think for me, you know, we have to hold our sense of control itself very loosely. Yes, we have our own free will. We have our own autonomy. You know, we're empowered to make decisions. Live our life. You know, we have that choice. But it's very important not to kind of get into this idea that you will bring about every good thing in your life by your own sheer will, because you will not. And trying to will exhaust you. And ultimately probably not bring about many of those good things. But then, you know, if the idea of not having true control is terrifying, I think about, well, who does have true control? It's God. God who's perfect. God who's all-seeing, all-knowing, creator of heaven and earth. If there was anyone, if there was anything that would make that sense of being out of control bearable or even a good thing, it's knowing that actually the person who has that control is not only perfect, but actually loves you. And cares about you. And not only loves you and cares about you, but knows every single detail about who you are and what you want and what you need, and knows how to bring about those things.
Amazing.
I think that's what I always come back to. It's who has control and why does he have it and how does he feel about me personally? And he feels great about me personally. And, you know, and I think that really gives me a level of comfort.
That's amazing. That's so cool. I love that. What a great thought. And I think this is the season for people who felt uncertain or felt disconnected from God to just fully align. And to fully surrender control, because I suppose to allow Jesus to be Lord is to surrender control and surrender everything. And that is incredibly hard and incredibly easy, all wrapped up in one, because it's one decision that we can make right now. And so I would love for us just to pray for you and just encourage you right now. If you are feeling anxiety, if you're feeling fear, you're feeling worry, gosh, you have a God who loves you so much and he cares for you. And we don't have all the answers. We're just exploring. I don't know if everything we said has been right today. We're just exploring the conversation. And I think it's good to explore. It's good for us to hold multiple thoughts in tension and to not get drawn into the extremism of society that wants to find someone to blame. It wants to find someone to be angry at. And the truth is that we're all living a life that's slightly out of control, some very out of control, and that creates a reaction in us. Like there's almost like an anger in us. Like, why are we in this world? And that's sin, isn't it? Like that's the sin of the world. Like that makes the world feel like it's corrupting, feel like it's fading away, feel like I can't grab onto anything. But Jesus is the answer. And so I'm going to pray for you right now. So Holy Spirit, I thank you for every person watching right now, and I just pray, God, that your presence would be with every person. And I pray that you would fully persuade them, just as you persuaded Abraham, that miracles could happen. God, I pray that you would fully persuade them right now. God, that every fear that they may have, the feelings may be valid, but they may not be true. And I pray that the truth would come into every person's heart, that they would see through the lens of their Father in heaven who loves them and cares for them deeply. And God, I pray for every person who's been away from God, been away in this season, has just disconnected, has made some decisions, maybe just to pull back. And I just pray, I just thank you, God, that right now this is an opportunity for people to lean in. So, hey, I just want to invite you into a prayer just really quickly. If that's you, you've been disconnected, and you're just thinking, I need to get connected. I need to get my life right with God. I'm just going to lead you in a prayer real quick. You can pray this just along with me. Dear Lord Jesus, I'm here just as I am. And I want to say sorry for going my own way, doing my own thing, for sinning against you. I receive right now your forgiveness, your love, and your grace. Amen. That's it.
Amen.
That simplest prayer in the world. If you prayed that prayer and you've just got your life right with God, that's amazing. We are cheering you on. Like we just love, gosh, because we know that for us, like the source of life has the connection has come when we've let go of control. And that's a prayer that surrenders, let's go control. If that's you, we would love to know. We're cheering you on. Head to the website, c3reflect.church/Jesus, and you can, just let us know you made that amazing decision. Come along to dinner parties, Bible study. It's a great Wednesday program. We're going to have in-person church, team rallies coming back in September. So there is loads to connect into. Don't be a stranger. Make the decision right now. Do something. Text someone. Do something to push the comfort zone right now. Text me. You got my number probably. Just do something and get out there. Thanks so much for joining us for our brand new series, Courage to Live. And today has been Reopening Anxiety. Thanks, Angelica, for joining us. It's been awesome. And we'll see you very soon.